Let's start with a scene that is painfully familiar. You make more than you made 5 years ago. Your title is better. Your income is better. Your lifestyle is definitely better. And yet, somehow, your bank account feels eerily unchanged. You are not broke in the obvious way. You are broke in the sophisticated way. The apartment is nicer. The car is newer. The meals are more expensive. The stress is better dressed. But underneath it all, the same anxiety is still there. If the income stops, everything starts collapsing. That is the middle class trap. It is not poverty, it is more deceptive than that. It is the illusion of progress without the reality of power. It is looking successful while remaining financially exposed. And this is not rare. CNBC reported that more than 60% of Americans were living paycheck to paycheck in late 2023, and even among people earning over $100,000, more than half still were. In 2024, PYMTS Intelligence similarly reported that 62% of U.S. consumers lived paycheck to paycheck, including 48% of those earning more than $100,000. So if you have a high salary and still feel financially cornered, the issue is not that you are uniquely irresponsible. The issue is that you are handed an income strategy, not a wealth strategy, and those are not the same thing. Here is the principle that separates the top 1% from everyone else. They do not have more because they make more. They have more because they direct money differently. They build systems. They create distance between earning and spending. They force money to become ownership. That is what this video is about. Not get rich quick, not exotic investments, not pretending discipline alone will save you. This is about wealth architecture, the design of a money system so intelligent that it keeps building your future even when you are tired, distracted, busy, emotional, or tempted. And by the end of this video, I'm going to give you a framework I call the 4-bucket system, one that makes wealth building less aspirational and more automatic. Because the real reason high earners stay stuck is not that they lack income, it is that they lack structure. If you fix that structure, everything changes. The first shift is conceptual, but it changes everything. Income is what you earn. Wealth is what you own. Those sound similar. They are worlds apart. A doctor can earn $300,000 a year and still be financially weak if every dollar is pre-committed. Mortgage, private school, car payments, dining out, travel, debt, upgrades, status maintenance. High income with no retained capital is still a fragile life. A teacher earning $60,000 who steadily accumulates savings, retirement assets, and investments may look less impressive in public, but may be materially stronger in private. One person has a larger stream, the other is building a reservoir. This is where most people get psychologically trapped. They confuse visibility with power. The system trains you to measure success by external signals, the neighborhood, the car, the brand of your problems. But wealth is not external. Wealth is hidden. It is invisible before it becomes undeniable. And the reason this matters is simple. If you do not own assets, then your lifestyle is rented from your labor. The paycheck comes in, the bills extract it, and you start over. That is not freedom. That is dependency with better branding. If every month you must sell your time in order to preserve your standard of living, then your income is not yet a tool of liberation. It is simply fuel for a machine that consumes you. That sounds harsh, but it's clarifying, because once you understand that, the game changes. You stop asking, how much do I need to make to feel rich? And you start asking, how much of what I make is turning into ownership? That is the adult question, because ownership buys something salary never can: distance from urgency. Assets create options, cash reserves create calm, investments create leverage, skills create negotiating power. Wealth is not just money, it is the ability to make decisions without panic. And once you understand that, you stop using income to signal status and start using it to purchase freedom. That is how the wealthy think. Not what can this paycheck buy me today, but how much future does this paycheck buy me if I deploy it correctly. That single mental reframe is the beginning of financial adulthood. Now we get to the part most people underestimate. Money does not reward effort as much as it rewards time under compounding. Everyone thinks wealth is mostly about how much you invest. It's not. It's about how early you stop hesitating. So let me show you two people. Billy starts investing at age 20. He invests $200 a month. Phil starts at age 30. He invests $300 a month. So Phil is doing the more responsible adult thing, right? He is investing more money every month. He is more aggressive. He should catch up. He doesn't. Using an illustrative long-term annual return assumption of about 9.4% compounded monthly, Billy ends up at roughly $1.49 million by age 65. Phil ends up at about $886,000. Billy finishes with approximately $603,000 more despite contributing less total cash over his lifetime. Billy contributes about $108,000. Phil contributes about $126,000. Billy puts in less. Billy ends with far more. Why? Because compounding does not grow in a straight line. It bends, it accelerates, it becomes unfair in favor of the early. This is the hidden tax nobody talks about: delay. Waiting is expensive. Every year you postpone building assets, you are not merely missing 1 year of contributions, you are losing the decades of growth those contributions would have generated. And that is why so many intelligent people feel blindsided in their 30s and 40s. They assume they can postpone wealth building until life settles down. But life rarely settles down. It expands. The promotion comes with a bigger mortgage. The raise comes with upgraded habits. The family gets more expensive. The calendar gets more crowded. The obligations multiply. So the person who says, "I'll get serious later," is usually not making a rational decision. They are making an emotional one. They are postponing discomfort. But postponing a contribution is not neutral. It has a price. This is one of the most psychologically freeing money truths you can learn. You do not need to start impressively. You need to start irreversibly. Small, automatic, early beats ambitious, delayed, inconsistent. That is how real wealth is built. Quietly, boringly, ahead of applause. And if you understand that, you stop obsessing over finding the perfect plan and start respecting the brutal advantage of simply beginning. So here is the operating system. If you want money to stop disappearing and start organizing itself into strength, you need every dollar to know where it is going before temptation sees it. That is the point of the 15-50-20-15 rule. It is simple enough to use, rigid enough to matter, flexible enough to survive real life. Bucket 1, 15% to your future self. This is your investment bucket, and it gets paid first. Not after the bills, not after the weekend, not after seeing what's left. First, because if you invest what remains, you will remain someone who never invests enough. This bucket is for your 401k, IRA, HSA investing, taxable brokerage, or whatever long-term ownership vehicle makes sense for your situation. The key principle is not the account type. The principle is psychological. Future you gets paid before current you gets a chance to improvise. That one act reshapes identity. It tells your brain, I am not merely consuming income, I am converting income into autonomy. Bucket 2, 50% to essentials. This is your ceiling for non-negotiables. Housing, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, core life costs. And the word that matters here is ceiling. Not target, not suggestion, ceiling. Why? Because most people do not lose financially from one dramatic mistake. They lose from normalized excess disguised as necessity. The premium apartment becomes needed for peace. The expensive car becomes required for reliability. Convenience spending becomes because I'm busy. Subscriptions become background noise, and soon your essentials category is full of luxuries that arrive too gradually to trigger alarm. The 50% cap forces honesty. It asks one of the most powerful financial questions in the world. Is this actually necessary, or has it merely become familiar? That question can unlock more cash flow than a raise. Bucket 3, 20% to lifestyle. This is where the system becomes sustainable, because a financial plan that allows no pleasure will eventually be sabotaged by the person living it. This bucket is for guilt-free enjoyment. Travel, restaurants, experiences, aesthetic upgrades, hobbies, events, the things that make life feel alive. But here's the standard. Use this money to buy joy, not just stimulation. Stuff is often an emotional sedative. Experiences are often memory-producing. That difference matters. Think of this bucket as your joy jar, not an escape hatch, not reckless spending, a deliberate reward channel. And inside this bucket, use the 7-day rule. If you want something on impulse, wait 7 days. If the emotional charge fades, it was not value, it was novelty. If you still want it, buy it guilt-free. That rule protects you from emotional leakage, the tiny repeated indulgences that quietly strip a high income of its power. Bucket 4, 15% to stability. This bucket is what makes the entire system emotionally credible. Emergency savings, cash buffers, insurance deductibles, sinking funds for inevitable costs, short-term resilience. This is not exciting money. This is the money that makes bad weeks survivable. It keeps a car repair from becoming revolving debt. It keeps a medical bill from becoming panic. It keeps a job transition from becoming desperation. And that matters more than people realize, because financial peace is not created by a beautiful spreadsheet. It is created by reduced fragility. So here's the full structure. 15% future self, 50% essentials, 20% lifestyle, 15% stability. This is not just budgeting, this is behavioral design. It accounts for ambition, reality, pleasure, and protection, which is exactly why it works better than systems built on deprivation. Now let's get tactical, because building wealth is not only about what you fund, it is about the order in which you fund it. The sequence matters. Step 1. Build the first $2,000 buffer. Before you start trying to optimize everything, create a minimum layer of financial shock absorption. Vanguard found that having at least $2,000 in emergency savings is associated with a 21% higher level of financial well-being compared with having no emergency savings. That's extraordinary, not because $2,000 solves your whole life. It doesn't, but because it changes how your nervous system experiences money. It lowers the sense of imminent threat. It creates a margin between inconvenience and crisis. That first buffer is not wealth, it is breathing room, and breathing room changes behavior. Step 2. Eliminate high-interest debt. If you are carrying credit card debt at 20% plus, you are not building wealth efficiently. You are pouring water into a bucket with a hole in the bottom. As late as 2025, the average APR on credit card accounts assessed interest was 22.3% based on Federal Reserve data cited by NerdWallet. At that rate, debt is not just expensive, it's predatory to your future. Use the debt avalanche method. Pay minimums on everything, then direct every extra dollar toward the highest interest balance first. This is not emotionally flashy, it is mathematically superior. And if you want a hard truth, carrying 22% debt while trying to build wealth elsewhere is like running a marathon while dragging furniture. Step 3. Capture the employer match. If your employer matches retirement contributions and you're not getting the full match, you are leaving compensation on the table. The IRS explains that matching contributions are additional employer contributions when you contribute from salary. In plain language, this is one of the cleanest forms of return you will ever get. Take the match first, always, before stock picking, before side bets, before trying to outsmart the system. Take the guaranteed leverage. Step 4. Use the HSA like a strategic weapon.
If you qualify for a health savings account, don't treat it like a side account. Treat it like a high-value planning tool. The IRS states that HSA contributions can be tax-deductible, earnings can grow tax-free, and distributions for qualified medical expenses can be tax-free. That's the famous triple tax advantage, which is why sophisticated investors often view the HSA as one of the most efficient long-term accounts in personal finance. Used properly, it can function as both a medical reserve and a slow retirement asset. Step 5. Build through IRA and broad index funds. After the match and the HSA, keep the core of your investment core elegantly simple. Investor.gov explains that index funds are mutual funds or ETFs designed to track market indexes such as the S&P 500, Russell 2000, or Wilshire 5000 Total Market Index. That matters because most people don't need a more exciting portfolio, they need a more durable one. So let the core of your financial life be boring. Boring scales, boring compounds, boring survives ego. Most people underperform
not because markets failed them, but because they could not resist interfering. 2 final upgrades. Automation beats motivation. Motivation is unstable. Automation is adult. If your financial system depends on you making disciplined decisions over and over, then your system is too dependent on mood. Set up paycheck sweeps. When the income lands, percentages move automatically to investments, to stability, to bills, to lifestyle. Now your best intentions no longer need daily supervision. This is what high performers understand in every domain. The best system is not the one that looks impressive on paper. It is the one that still works on your most distracted week. Automation turns discipline into default. That is power. Your skills are assets too. There is one more form of investment people underprice: your ability to earn. A new skill that increases your income by $10,000, $20,000, or $30,000 a year can outperform many financial products in the short term. Negotiation, sales, leadership, analytics, coding, communication, client acquisition, AI leverage, these are assets. The wealthy do not only buy assets, they become more valuable assets. So yes, invest in index funds, but also invest in the instrument producing the capital, you. Because when skill rises, income capacity rises. And when income capacity rises inside a disciplined money system, wealth accelerates. Here's the truth most people avoid. You do not become wealthy by accident once your salary gets high enough. You become wealthy when your financial life stops being reactive. The best time to build this system was years ago. The second best time is now. So here's your challenge. Do not admire this, install it. Pick 3 changes from this video and implement them this month. Set the 4 buckets, build the first $2,000, kill the highest interest debt, capture the match, open the index fund, create the joy jar, turn on the paycheck sweep. Because the moment your money becomes organized, your future becomes less random. And that's the real shift. Not from low income to high income, from high income to actual control. That's the 1% money system. Not earning more for appearance, building more for permanence. And yes, don't forget to subscribe. We are here to help you. See you in next.